Welcome to the Workplace Minute, powered by H3HR Advisors and sponsored by Paychex, one of the leading providers of HR, payroll, retirement, and software solutions for businesses of all sizes. My name is Steve Boese. Japanese officials hoping to convince companies to try shorter work weeks. Japan, a nation known for its culture of hard work, so much so that the Japanese language has a term for literally working oneself to death, is trying to address a growing labor shortage by convincing people and companies to adopt 4-day work weeks. The Japanese government first expressed support for a shorter working week in 2021 after lawmakers endorsed the idea. The concept has been slow to catch on, however. Only about 8% of companies in Japan allow employees to take 3 or more days off per week, while 7% give their workers the legally mandated only 1 day off, according to their Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. Hoping to produce more adoption of shorter work weeks, especially among small and medium-sized businesses, the government launched a work-style reform campaign that promotes shorter hours and other flexible arrangements, along with overtime limits and paid annual leave. The Labor Ministry recently started offering free consulting, grants, and a growing library of success stories as further motivation for employers. But despite government support and resources, companies and workers in Japan so far have been reluctant to sign on to shortened work weeks. The department overseeing the new support services for businesses says only 3 companies have come forward so far to request advice on making these changes and the relevant regulations and available subsidies, which illustrates the challenges these initiatives are facing. One example, of 63,000 employees at Panasonic Holdings Corporation who are eligible for 4-day schedules, only 150 employees have opted to take them, according to a statement from the electronics company. The government's official support for a better work-life balance represents a notable change in Japan, a country whose culture of workaholic stoicism often gets credited for the rapid national recovery and fantastic economic growth following World War II. Workplace pressure to make sacrifices for their companies is intense. Workers typically take vacations at the same time of the year as their colleagues, 1 week during the summer and again around New Year's Day, so that workers can't be accused of being neglectful or uncaring. Plus, long hours are the norm in Japan. Even though 85% of employers report giving their workers 2 days off a week, and there are legal restrictions on overtime hours, which are negotiated with labor unions, heavy workloads remain prevalent. And some workers do what's called service overtime, meaning it's overtime that's done and is not reported and it's performed without compensation. In a recent government white paper on karoshi, the Japanese term that in English means death from overwork, said Japan has at least 54 such fatalities each year, including from heart attacks. Some Japanese officials consider changing the culture of overwork to be crucial to maintaining a viable workforce amid Japan's declining birth rate. At the current rate, which is partly attributed to the country's job-focused culture, the working-age population is expected to decline 40% to 45 million people in 2065, and that's down from the current 74 million. Reducing working hours is also seen as a potential method for elevating employee engagement and performance. The annual Gallup survey that measures employee engagement ranked Japan as having among the least engaged workers of all nationalities surveyed. In the most recent survey, only 6% of the Japanese workers described themselves as engaged at work, compared to the global average of 23%. More time is needed and more convincing of skeptical companies and workers who are culturally accustomed to long working hours before we'll know if the government's efforts will be successful and if they will have the desired impacts on jobs, quality of life, and even the country's future rate of growth. It's an interesting experiment that we will continue to watch. And we'll continue to follow all the important topics and trends in the world of work here on the HR Happy Hour Media Network. That's it for the Workplace Minute, powered by H3HR Advisors.